the fact that Lori Lightfoot tried to get young people, particularly kids, to help her with her mayoral campaign recently, and she got caught.
Oh,
Let me
boy. Okay, go ahead. Pull up the story, and I'll let you talk because there's some things that you need to know. And as always, I'm always happy to see that shocked look on your face because every time I come on your show, I always give you something where it's like, what?
Oh God! Oh, we're gonna do this again. Oh, Kit, you're gonna put me through it again. Okay. All right. So this is out of the Chicago Sun-Times. It says Lightfoot apologizes for campaign solicitation to CPS, Child Protective Services, City College students. That was clearly a mistake. So let's go to what actually happened. So that because it kind of beats around it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. I had it. Okay. So let's start here. It says mayoral challenger Paul Vallis, the former Chicago Public Schools CEO, demanded a joint investigation by Fletcher and Whitesburg and has questions he wants answered. Whether Lightfoot was, quote, aware her campaign was pressuring teachers and students to support her campaign using the CPS email addresses. Okay. If the mayor was not aware, will she take disciplinary action against campaign staffers? How did the mayor's re-election campaign obtain CPS teacher email list? Was there an agreement between Lightfoot campaign and CPS to offer student class credit? And if so, who at CPS authorized it? And if there was no agreement, did Lightfoot campaign lie to students and teachers by claiming there would be a chance to earn class credit? This is basically the crux of what's going on. Kid, lay it on me, brother.
Okay, so let's talk about Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Chicago Public Schools. Now, for those of you who do not live in the city of Chicago, we have Heartlands Media has a secondary channel called Chicago Corner, which is dedicated to Chicago politics and what's happening in my backyard. Jerry and Edward have done a fantastic job, especially handling that show. So let's talk about Lightfoot, all right? Now, Lightfoot came into office in 2019. As I've said on your show before, she won through a landslide victory, but it was the lowest voter turnout in Chicago election history, okay, especially for the office of mayor. But she did win, and she built a coalition, and she was able to successfully win, and she ran on promises of reversing the policies of Rahm Emanuel. Now, under Rahm's watch, 54 Chicago public schools have been shut down. Since the ascension of Lightfoot, Chicago public schools have been gutted. They've been still suffering layoffs. They've been still suffering lack of resources. Lightfoot, in her pettiness, has systematically, especially in her first year, gone toe-to-toe against CTU. During the pandemic lockdown, Lightfoot was a huge opponent against the CTU and teachers from safely conducting their classes. Now, I know each of us have our perspectives on the lockdowns as well as the pandemic, but the way Lightfoot was going after Chicago Teachers Union members, teachers, and parents who were concerned about the COVID-19 and getting infected with it and so much more, Lightfoot was willing to, again, bully the schools, shut them down, and go into another fight with CTU all over again. Since then, I find it interesting now that she somehow got these emails, that her administration was somehow now reaching out to CPS teachers when her administration has been an antagonist towards Chicago public teachers and Chicago Teachers Union. What I find to also be shocking about Lightfoot is this isn't the first time her campaign has been doing something nefarious in regards to trying to get reelected. Since she's once again thrown her hat in the ring, her previous coalition is no longer surrounding around her. She is now going and asking for corporate donations so that she can win again. That's what's making up her new coalition. And similar to Rahm Emanuel, she is not attending mayoral debates and forums. She's going to her own quote unquote safe places. So take, for example, tomorrow, myself and Jerry and Edward, our colleague, we will be going and covering a Chicago mayoral forum. That's going to be happening tomorrow. But 2 weeks ago, we covered an event at Copernicus Center. 8 out of the 10 mayoral candidates at the time showed up. We interviewed 6 of them. The other 2 we couldn't interview because, again, of traffic. That's not their fault. But, hey, we at least got 6 out of 8 interviews done. We were able to cover the entire event. So when the live stream was 45 minutes in, I decided to take a break and have Jerry, maintain the boards, because obviously you have to have a moderator keeping an eye on chat. But I want to explain to people what kind of person Lightfoot is and really what kind of pain these students will be in for, especially if they're going to start working for her campaign. So I'm taking photos of the campaign tables and all the flyers. And I noticed then a Lightfoot campaign table. Now, the people running that event were saying to me that Lightfoot was not going to show up. And I see these 2 young women who were setting the table up. And I go ahead and ask them, excuse me, is Lightfoot attending? To which they both said no. And I said, okay, well, if you're here as a campaign, it's kind of odd that you have a table here. Lightfoot's not showing. Are you at least going to be asking and answering any questions? To which they said, no, we're not allowed to. We have all these documents here. And I said, well, now that's really odd. You're setting up a table here. You're setting up a table here. You're not answering questions. Lightfoot's not showing up. This is completely suspicious. And the 2 young women walk away, but one of them turns around and quietly looks at me and says this is a very difficult job to do. I kid you not. That's what happened. Jerry was giving me that same look too. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, she said, this is a very difficult job to do. And so the thing is, Lightfoot is going to her own areas for safe places. And she's asking now students to be with her and help and giving out another kind of false premise that she cares about teachers, that she cares about the students, when her entire administration has been going to war against CTU and Chicago public teachers. This isn't the first time Lightfoot has done something this nefarious to a group where she's asking for help. Hell, she has been giving large amounts of money to the Chicago Police Department, but the Chicago Police Department, the CPD, they don't like her. She is completely unpleasant to be around. She is completely thin-skinned. She cannot take criticism whatsoever. So Lightfoot, once again, going ahead and asking for getting the emails from the teachers and asking them, hey, I want your students to come. This is a direct violation. Now, she's saying clearly it's a mistake. No. She has made one too many mistakes. This is malicious and on purpose. This is why I've said on Chicago Corner, Hard Lens Media, and I'll even say it on your show too. If Lightfoot is reelected, it is a death blow to the city of Chicago. We cannot survive another 4 years under Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The fact that she has the audacity. Hold on, wait. I don't think you know about this one, Jay. So she's actually gonna, if and look it up on your computer too, because you know what? I always like to be fact checked by my colleagues in independent media. It's always important to fact check each other.
Yeah.
This mayor has the big brain idiot idea of hosting a NASCAR event in the city of Chicago. But
wait,
not
what?
Not in a NASCAR arena, but on the streets. On the streets where the public parks are at.
All right. You know what? No. See, I'm out. No. You mean to tell me that Lori Lightfoot decided to have a NASCAR event? Wait, hold up. Yes. You mean to tell me she decided to have a NASCAR event on the streets of Chicago? Is she mental?
Yes, this is happening. What? This is, hold on. You know what? I I promise. I promise. A promise is a promise. Hold on.
I'm gonna break my
There
chair.
you go. Private
Lord,
chat.
what?
I
Oh
sent to you on private
God,
chat.
are you kidding me right now?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, I gotta share this. Oh, because I'm just reading. Because hold up, I was just reading. This is out of WTTW. Says that Chicago faces $127.9 million budget shortfall from Lori Lightfoot, and I'm like, wait a minute, I get it, but and now she's doing this.
Yes,
Oh, hell.
this mayor, and here's the thing. Look, I love my city. I love it with all my heart. But this is a recipe for disaster. And here's the thing. She ran this plan and got it run through without even talking to the aldermen in the affected areas where this is going to be at. And this is a heavily populated area in the downtown area of Chicago. Now, I'm not an expert in NASCAR. Maybe your audience members, some heroic individuals step forward and say, hey, I'm an expert. I know about NASCAR. So the thing is, I'm pretty sure those arenas where NASCAR races are held are designed for a specific way for those cars to run efficiently.
Yeah.
The streets of Chicago and a NASCAR arena are two different things altogether. We got potholes galore.
So are they going to fix the potholes first? Are they going to fix the potholes?
She might, maybe, kind of, sort of. She could if she wanted to. But this is a 3-year deal that she also signed here too. And the thing is, we don't know what we're really getting back from NASCAR. So what Lightfoot did is make a deal, but we're not getting anything back in return unless she is assuming that tourists will show up in mass. The last time any mayor had a big brain idiot idea like this was when we had Daley Jr. trying to bring in the Olympics when Obama first became president. And thank God we dodged that bullet, because any city that ever hosts the Olympics then suffers a massive recession, because again, anything that's designed around hosting the Olympics, any city has always suffered economic withdrawals afterwards. It's like just a short boost, a short high. This NASCAR thing, 3-year deal. What exactly have we given up? And not to mention the maintenance of the Chicago public parks, which are supposed to be for the people. We're talking about massive waste, pollution, and so much more. We don't know what the long-term effects are. And plus, I joked on this with Jerry on Chicago Corner, and that is, okay, let's say the NASCAR races do happen.
Yeah.
Hey, how about I play the devil's advocate here? Or what's the worst that could happen? What could possibly go wrong? Maybe an accident? Maybe.
That's a little too much NOS close to my house.
Exactly.
Because that, and on top of it,
well,
I can just see risks. I mean, potential for a disaster to happen in the streets of Chicago.
Well, do you want to know what? Here's the thing. Lightfoot stands firm. Chicago Mayor Lightfoot is even quoted for saying as well, the street race will be a love letter to Chicago.
How?
Now, well, I think what she's trying to do is hype up the brilliance and beauty of our streets. And, oh, look at NASCAR here. They're racing in Chicago. What I have to say is Lightfoot, people are still being evicted from their homes and apartments. We still have police corruption. We still have political corruption. Many of the current aldermen are abandoning ship. A lot of these guys got scandals or don't want to stay into office. So the rats are effectively leaving the sinking ship. There's also, again, many of the mental health facilities have still not have been open. There's still lead in our drinking water. And then we also have a lot of these industrial facilities on the south and west side neighborhoods that are committing environmental racism towards the people in the south and west side communities. And what are predominantly the makeup of those communities? African American, Latino. And Lightfoot is, but this is the same Lightfoot who again, when confronted about this, will be quick to dismiss it and start an antagonistic fight towards the media. But yet she also says there must be a rise of black voices in the media. But when a independent journalist went ahead and confronted her and did not go on the script of what she's used to, she was quick to dismiss that young black woman And this was done in, I think, 2019, maybe 2020.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so God, let me get into this. Hang on.
I ranted for far too long. Sorry about that.
No. You're fine. It's just okay. Hang on. There's a couple comments that I think are warranted. Roger Meadows says, "I'm so glad NYC fought that back every time. The people of NYC don't want it." And then Chuck E. Cheese says, I had a NASCAR track in my hometown, and you can hear a NASCAR race for like several miles, maybe 15 or 20 miles. It's deafeningly loud, and it goes on for like 6 to 10 hours.
Yes.
He continues and says, I know a little bit about NASCAR. NASCAR requires an arena that they run on a curved track, which is required to prevent astroplaning when a car flies into the stands.
You know,
not just the noise pollution, but also the amount of pollution that can come from having so many people in these areas. And are you going to hire more people to keep these areas clean? Because it's just like
that's the question. That's the question in the article. So we don't really know. So here's the thing: there's Buckingham Fountain, and there's also Roosevelt Road. So this is a huge green space. Now, again, the purpose of these parks, they were originally designed for the people to enjoy. Now, I understand. Hey, tourism is key. You know, you got to do something for tourism. But I'm gonna send you an article where there's the supposed layout for this race. And it doesn't make any goddamn sense because it doesn't look like anything that a real NASCAR arena would look like. It doesn't even fit the profile. So for that person who wrote it, obviously we may not get a full race, but I cannot see this being safe. I see a disaster happening on these streets, on this layout, the proposed layout from between July 1st to July 2nd of 2023. It's going to be 2.2 miles, I believe, the course lengths.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't look safe at all. It looks like somebody made a deformed 8 or infinity sign. There you go.
Wow. Those are some very sharp turns.
Yeah.
Those are too sharp.
I mean, I hope that they're not going to be going full speed, because if this is going to be a full speed race, I see an accident happening. And again, Lightfoot did this without talking to the city council. Lightfoot did this without even talking to the local alderman who represents the area. But for some of you who probably might be wondering, well, wait, is there anything the alderman can do? Yes and no. The problem is the office of mayor here in Chicago is like the end all be all. The buck stops with them. Old Man Daley, who came into power in the 1950s, cemented the office of mayor to replace the council. Because originally, before Daley, Old Man Daley, it was the council that was running the city. When Daley got into office, he turned himself into Caesar. If you ever want to read a book about what Daley did, read the book called American Pharaoh, and it will go into detail just what Mayor Daley, Old Man Mayor Daley, did to cement the office. So Lightfoot can do things just like that and get no pushback. And she's gone mad with power.
Wow. Yeah, Sean Miller says 100 to 140 probably. I've heard faster. I've heard typically they go faster in NASCAR. I heard 180 plus sometimes because those cars are that souped up. So even still, those corners are way too sharp for these cars to be making in a city like this. It doesn't make any sense. And so for Lightfoot to actually approve of this in a city this populous, like, is she mad? Like,
I think all what she cares about All what she truly cares about, Lightfoot, that is she cares about her ego. She cares about her pride. She really cares about just having her legacy represented in a way that will make her look good. And I think it's all it's all excuse me, for her, it's all short-term goals. She never looks at the bigger picture, which again is a problem with this mayor, because through her administration, she has abandoned everyone that helped her out. She lied to CTU. She lied to activists and organizers on the south side of Chicago. She lied to anyone that helped finance her. I mean, even then, like some of her old opponents from 2019 who supported her when they dropped out of the race are now running against her again in 2023.
Bro,
yeah. So
this is going to be a traffic nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only a traffic nightmare, but the issue I'm wondering about is, okay, what are some of the long-term consequences? If there's an accident, if something else happens, how much does the city have to pay? Is NASCAR held accountable? Because if you look further into the article, you'll notice that we don't truly know what else we're getting with this deal with NASCAR. And NASCAR, from my perspective, and from what some of the aldermen have been looking at as well, it's a hands-off approach. They're somewhat involved, but they got a deal, and Lightfoot was just happy to get her name attached to it. She's like, think of her as a more egotistical version of Jan from The Office. You know, because I don't want to compare her to Michael Scott, because Michael Scott liked to wear costumes, but she likes to wear costumes too. And yeah.
Oh man, this is wild.
Yeah, I have been left myself wondering, how is it that she's going to effectively run? And the only way that she can maintain any kind of relevance through this election cycle is if voter turnout is low during the primary. And so many Chicagoans may not be aware that there is an election, a city election happening in 2023. And we've been doing everything we can to cover the forums, to cover the debates, to talk about what's happening in this city. But unfortunately, the real tactic will have to be is whoever can get the most voters to turn out for them, and so they get the majority in the primary. Then we'll see who's going to be representing Chicago in the aftermath of that primary. And I am concerned that people just might be blind to it, might not show up, or just out of just being robots, just voting for Lightfoot because that's all they know. And a lot of these candidates, you know, one of them is going to have to really start stepping up their game further to get voter turnout. And whoever controls the north side, and this isn't a dig at the south or west side neighborhoods, but whoever controls the north side will be the winner. And I'm dreading to say these words, but I think Lightfoot might have that area locked down. Maybe. She has made enemies out of activists and the LGBTQ community and so many others. But then again, many people are blind to identity politics. And this isn't, again, my criticism towards Lightfoot, because this is another thing that Lightfoot has done too.
Okay.
Any ounce of criticism that she has received from the media or from any of her political opponents, she's quick to jump on the board of sexism, misogyny, racism, and some people being homophobic. And it's very clever that she's hiding behind the shield of identity politics to avoid any criticism. But that's a danger, because this mayor has been Rahm Emanuel 2.0. That's who she is. And right now, with Representative Chuy Garcia also throwing his hat in the race, Jerry has surmised that he is there as a just in case for the Democratic Party, because Lightfoot she's not popular, but in case she fails the runoff, the Democrats do have Chuy, and that could be a potential person to fill in that void. And then I would be legitimately surprised if Chewy does make it in the primary that he doesn't win, because he is a name that's known here in Chicago. And I'm 50-50 on Chewy. I mean, he was on that Force to Vote petition, and he didn't even show up for Force to Vote in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Is the north side of Chicago a more affluent side? Is that what it is? Okay.
So as I've said on your show, and I think even on Sabrina's show too, Chicago is a hyper-segregated city. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's just say anything that Jim Crow did in the South, he would be foaming at the mouth as he would wish he would do something like that or have something equivalent like what's in Chicago. So there's a clear economic divide on the north side and the south side of Chicago if you just cut Chicago in half. But then within the south side and even on the north side, there are different communities there as well. Plus, the way the aldermanic districts are cut up, it looks like a madman decided to create a crazy jigsaw puzzle. The north side is more affluent. That is correct. But they also have their own problems, too. There is, again, real estate developers moving in. There's lead in the drinking water there, too. But yes, the north side is more affluent. And yes, voter turnout is much higher on the north side, which, again, as a political analysis, you know, I want to show all my support and love for the south side. But voter turnout has been historically low on the south side and west side of Chicago, and whereas on the north side, it's much higher. So there's more, I guess, voter engagement. And there's maybe 2 or 3 candidates that I'm keeping an eye on that I find interesting. One of them who stands out the most has been Jamal Green. I've interviewed him in the past. He ran in 2019. He runs on public banks. He's all for funding our public schools. You can actually check out some of our interviews that we did with him. I think I could pull that up if you're interested. What we did on Chicago Corner. It's our most recent one that we did. So let me go see if I could find it for you. And then that way your viewing audience can be introduced to Jamal Green. So let me go ahead and pull this up. So my colleague Jerry was interviewing him. So let me get this set up for you. Here you go.
All right.
So yeah, I think he's running a very strong campaign. I think he has what it takes.
Okay. So
it's not an endorsement though, but I just want to I think of all of them in regards for policies I agree with, he's the closest one.
Okay. All right. Policy wise, because I mean, look, policy is basically the name of the game. I am through with personalities. It's like I don't care if this guy's a jerk. What is his policy? The policy positions are what matter to me most. You know, and sorry, go ahead.
Well, he's been consistent, and you know, what's interesting to point out too is he when he ran in 2019, he did endorse Lightfoot at the end, but then when it was time for her to follow through with some of her promises, she was quick to make him into an enemy, vilify him, and go to war against anyone, like I said, that would be critical of her. I mean, she even said a Scooby-Doo meme of her was racist.
How?
Okay, so obviously this was like, I think, early 2021. And so there was a report, or there was a meme that came out where Lightfoot, so the story was Lightfoot gave some more money to the Chicago Police Department again.
Okay.
And a meme came out where Shaggy and the gang, Scooby, Shaggy and the gang, all had this, you know, like ghost police officer caught. They took off the mask and said, "Oh, it's just Lightfoot giving money to the police." Right. And so, you know, I think she was saying it was racist because I guess there was like 4 white people and their dog surrounding her, which I get it. But, you know, I mean, Lightfoot's quick to make herself look like a clown. I mean, Joe Rogan, when he did a comedy show here, made her look like Beetlejuice.
Oh my God. Look, hold up. If you're giving money to the police, then you're associated with them. Okay, dear God. Yeah. So yeah, this is, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it
But
was. So I think a lot of people would like this interview that we did with Jamal. It's actually pretty informative. So let's actually
yeah.
share it with the people.
Okay, sure. It's only 7 minutes. Let's go.
Mr. Jamal Green, thank you for joining us, Jamal. Pleasure to see you. I understand traffic was tough. We know. So, do you know if Mayor Lightfoot was invited tonight, or is she?
I mean, I don't. I would seem that they would invite it to all candidates. She's the mayor. She thinks that she doesn't have to show up to things. But I think as she continues to look at those poll numbers, she'll show up at some point.
So let's talk a little bit about your exciting candidacy. There was some controversy with the Ricky Hendon scandal. We actually had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Wilson earlier, and he did not give a yes or no to the optics regarding Mr. Hendon staying with his campaign, which, with all due respect to him, to us, kind of seemed problematic. I don't want to editorialize too much. But you feel very strongly that the claims in your petition challenge against Dr. Wilson are pretty strong.
They are pretty strong. We've been clear as far as the residency, as far as the pattern of fraud, as far as just the full petition, all of the sheets not being binded, correctly numbered, notary stamped, circulator signatures, etc. So that's pretty strong. I think that we have a great case right now. It's in records challenge as we speak. Right now, the Board of Elections, right now, they're checking the signatures. So we'll hear something soon.
All right. So I know that this is going to come up in the forum tonight. This is not a gotcha question, but it's a tough question. But I know you've answered it before. For people who haven't heard you answer it, I want to give you the opportunity to share your answer to this question. Many critics of your candidacy have said you lack the experience. You're young. How do you address those comments to really convince people that those claims are unfounded in regards to the experience you do have? And I think the benefit of youth changing things, younger candidates changing things, because the experienced ones seems to be kind of business as usual.
Well, I think you've answered it for me. 3 things.
Well, okay.
Number one, 3 things. Number one, what have the folks with experience done for you? What are the people in this race? Just look at the people in this race. Let's look at what they've done, the elected positions that they have now, or the jobs that they've had before. Tell me, what have they done to make an impact on your community, on your life? And you'll see that the people that has all of this experience, it doesn't mean that they'll have an agenda that's for the people.
Hey, Kit, let me ask you this question. Did you ever get to see Avengers Infinity War?
Yes, of course. Well, actually, here's the thing. I kind of knew what was going to happen with the snap. I could see Homer Simpson just yelling at me saying, "How come you knew this? Why didn't you tell us this before?" Because I read the comics, so I kind of knew what was going to happen. So why are you asking about Infinity War?
Okay, remember the beginning where Loki goes, hey, he talks to Thanos, he goes, hey, if you're going to Earth, you might want a guide. And he goes, I'm quite experienced. And Thanos goes, you consider failure an experience? And Loki goes, I consider experience. He sounds very politician-y right there. We're saying, oh, well, I have experience. But Thanos is like, but you failed. So how is that going to help me? So this is what it reminds me of, this question. It's like, well, I have experience. And it's like, but you failed every time. Or you failed to help the people who are most vulnerable every single time.
Well, the thing is, like, when we look at experience, hey, Pete Buttigieg could say, hey, I have experience, but the man's an absolute failure at the transportation as Secretary of Transportation, but also the man has failure of being a mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Seriously, people, go ahead and ask the people of South Bend, Indiana, how they feel about Pete Buttigieg.
Peter Paul Montgomery.
Yeah. People don't like you, especially if all this experience. You could have Dianne Feinstein has experience.
Yeah.
At being a vegetable, but there you go. Now, okay, that was mean. I'm sorry. That was mean, folks. Yeah, I need to be nicer. I need to be nicer.
Well, I'm thinking about people like Henry Kissinger. He has experience.
That man's still alive?
Okay. What time is it?
Hold on.
We're waiting.
Jesus Christ, he's 99 years old?
We're waiting for the ball to drop.
What the
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah. See, here's the thing.
Wow.
When someone is beloved and they're old, I want them to live as long as possible. Like Betty White, I wanted her to make it to 120. But Kissinger, oh, he should have been gone a long time ago.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Wow.
So that's all I got to say. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. The good old people, I want them to stay with us. The bad old people, I'm like,
I'm reading this
What?
here. I didn't know he was still alive. This is insane. Oh wow.
Yep.
Well,
What he says, Kissinger has proved that only the good die young.
No.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep. We can continue.
Number two is I'm not tainted. That is a great thing, right?
Mm.
It is a great thing that you have a candidate that is not tainted, controlled, puppeted around, that has real policies that really benefit the people, and that is 9 times out of 10 gonna keep their promises because they don't have those ties, and they're not tainted by old seats. And number three, yes, I'm young, right? But when you talk about the experience, talk about the experience that I do have. The experience that I do have is in the community, whether that was on behalf for Laquan McDonald, on behalf of young people throughout this city, fighting on behalf of businesses to keep them open or get them back open after they were looted, raising $250,000, forcing Chase Bank, fighting the largest bank in the world, forcing them to give back $1 billion to the South and West Sides. When you talk about the experience, I don't care what it is, housing, young, violence, mental health, every different issue we can go down the line. I can show you how I've been on the front lines fighting for that without the title. And I think that experience with the people fighting for the people matters more than experience in government being corrupt.
So let's talk about banking, because you have been at the forefront of an initiative to provide affordable housing for people across all Chicago communities. And you kind of addressed this at your press conference at the petition drop-off, but for our viewers that don't understand the concept of the benefits of a public bank and how it could help Chicago's, not only your economy, but perhaps also help the crushing deficit in our budget.
You hear that, Roger Meadows? You hear that, bud? Let's go.
Shortfalls we're always dealing with. Can you, I know it's a complicated subject, but as Reader's Digest as you can, tell our audience why you're proposing this, why you're so much in support of it, what those benefits are, so people will perhaps expect the same kind of proposals or support from other candidates.
It's so important. Yeah, it's so important for the city to have a public bank. I mean, we're in a city of in a situation where we need our own economic engine to be able to invest back into communities, and we've been leveraging billions of dollars. I mean, putting billions of dollars in these banks that the bank has been leveraging for their benefit, and investing in private prisons, investing in immigration detention centers, investing in fossil fuel industries. And then you look back and you say, hey, what is their numbers when it comes to mortgages on the South and West Sides? 1%, 2% in 6 years compared to the rest of the city of Chicago. So they're also redlining communities, and they're not our partners in rebuilding the city. If we have our own bank, a Bank of Chicago, where we have a 9-member board, 3 put forth by the city council, 3 put forth by the mayor, 3 as elected by the people, that has priority of that puts the priority of money out, whether it is mortgages, whether it is income-based housing development, whether it's small business development. And then when that happens, the profit that comes back from that bank goes right back to city services. It's not investing in the prisons, it's investing back in the people. So that is whether it's paying down our pension crisis, right? Or whether it is being another stream of funding for our underfunded schools. It's up to us on where we want the excess of revenue to go back to, instead of leaving it with the banks and we're not getting anything. It just makes the most sense.
It makes too much sense, which is why it seems all of our political leaders who are connected with crony associates are not really focusing on it.
That's also a really interesting thing. Like, for instance, and I know Roger Meadows has talked about this, and I've had Alfeca Maturity from the National Infrastructure Bank Coalition on. And even when you go municipal public banks, or you go statewide public banks, or even having just a national public bank, it actually also can help generate revenue so that you can kind of recycle and build up your infrastructure, especially for the local residents within the area. Let's say hypothetically we had a county public bank here in Orange County, Florida, which is also part of, city of Orlando's in Orange County. Just imagine the budget that we can surplus by just having investment from a public bank in order to not only take care of our roads and bridges and like that in the area, but also what about the students? Being able to help give it just an idea, help give scholarships to students to go to technical school. We have a technical vocational school here called Mid-Florida Tech, right? We have Mid-Florida Tech, Winter Park Tech, and Orlando Tech. We have 3 technical vocational schools in Orange County. You could, start giving more scholarships to kids who, instead of going to UCF or instead of going to Valencia or Rollins College, they could be going to help, build, to our vocational schools so that we can hire them and to working for the city or working for different companies in order to help build up our infrastructure here. It just makes more sense instead of NASCAR.
Well, again, that question was brought up during the forum, and all of the mayoral candidates that were up there just thumbs downed it. And also, I'm proud to say that a lot of them also gave a middle finger to the Chicago Bears that want to leave the city. Oh, yeah, you didn't notice? Yeah. Lightfoot and her incompetence actually are causing the Chicago Bears to leave the city, to which I got to say, first of all, to the Bears leaving the city, right here, because you made your name off of the city. The city's been very good to the Chicago Bears, and now they want to go to Arlington in Illinois. And what you're gonna call yourself what, the Arlington Bears? Hey, listen, if you're kicked out of there too, don't come back. Seriously, if you're gonna leave this city, don't come back. All right, as a franchise, the Bears have been an embarrassment. And I'm not talking about the football players. I'm talking about ownership. I'm talking about management. They've been a complete disaster. And, all this talk of, we got a rivalry with Green Bay. If it's a one-sided fist fight, it's not a rivalry, God damn it. There you go.
Look, they might as well get rid of the Cubs, right? They might as well get rid of the Cubs, too, while they're at it. Like, if you're going to get rid of the Bears, get rid of the Cubs. I mean, because you're messing up the city already as it is. If you're going to burn it, you might as well burn it down real good. It's crazy.
Well, what I find funny is, the other Chicago teams, like, they haven't done that, which is, again, it really shows that maybe the Bears have dug themselves a hole, but also shines a light on just how Lightfoot can just make an enemy out of anyone. But no, seriously, right here to the Chicago Bears that want to leave the city. They want to leave the city because they're not getting enough tax breaks, buddy. Your football team is doing just fine here in Chicago, but no, you want to leave now. Okay, fine, leave. Jeez. Don't let the door hit you, but a good Lord split you. Danny, hold on, and Danny just said a very violent thing right there in chat. I want to address it. He wrote something very violent about the Chicago White Sox. How dare he?
He said, "No way."
First of all, sir. First of all, we got to the championship first before the Cubs did. And second of all right, I am a South Side thriller. I'm a North Side killer. Okay, so you don't ever in your life, Danny, you never. Write that there with me being present again. God damn it. On Saddam Hussein's palace, I predicted the White Sox were going to win the World Series in 2005. Everyone said I was full of shit. I was proven correct. Occasionally, my mad predictions do come out to be true, but that we didn't get our dynasty yet. No way. The Cubs are more Chicago than the White Sox. How dare you? How dare you, sir? That is violence.
Ooh, them's fighting words.
You know, I want to see, at least before I turn 40, though, I would like
Mhm.
to see a red line series between the Cubs and Sox. That you know, because the New York had that when the Mets versus the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think if we were to have then this whole city would tear itself apart. North side and south side teams make it to the playoffs. It'll be pandemonium. Like the only way you're not going to be out there is if you're dead in prison or.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Jeez, man.
So yeah,
Chicagoans, they don't play about their sports, man.
Yeah. There you go. So take that, Danny. Danny being violent.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh man, Danny has something else to say. I want to give some attention to this. Danny says public banks will also ease the intentionally difficult and discouraging process for applying for unemployment. That's also. I think Kit will forgive you for that one.
There we go. That's correct language right there.
That's correct language. And then Roger backs this up. He says, "Way ahead of you, Jay. Kit already informed me. Hey, Kit, Jerry said right now you're running an initiative for a Chicago PB. Was that literal? Is he running a local CBI for a public bank in congruence with his campaign?"
Well, right now, you know, we did send, and you'll probably get to the end of the interview with this one. We gave all the 6 mayoral candidates that we interviewed our Chicago manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a manifesto that we have yet to receive back from any of the candidates as of yet. Jerry hasn't informed me of anything yet, but we do. He has. I think Jamal has talked about public banking being on his campaign, but as for an initiative right now for this city election, I don't know. But it can happen. There is citizen initiatives that can be passed for local elections.
All right, there's about a minute and a half left. We can finish it up.
Mm-hmm.
Any new exciting developments in your campaign that we haven't heard about? Because look, you've been leaps and bounds. You got #1 on the ballot, which is very, very helpful. I mean, look, you got a great candidacy, but being up at the top there, people are paying attention to what we're doing, trying to promote candidates. Any other news from your campaign you want to share?
Well, not yet, but we got some exciting news over this next week on how we're going to really increase the voter turnout. And so I'm excited. Our team is doing well. You know, I love being looked at as the underdog candidate because somehow the underdogs always win.
You heard it here first. So I don't know. Hopefully you've heard about this, but if not, Jamal, really quick question. So we have what we call on our show the Chicago Corner Manifesto. This is, you've heard about it. So this is basically important issues, and I would imagine you probably align with almost everything, if not everything on this list. So we're asking all candidates we speak with, not tonight, but if you could take this with you, it's a little bit of homework. Fill it out, review what you agree with, what you have comments on, email me back at jerry@chicagocorner.tv. And obviously we want to have you on the show again, but we're trying to get candidates feedback on what the other issues are coming from the people across the city of Chicago that you might not know about to address so we can talk about it. So that's your homework, sir. It's a pleasure to see you.
Good interview.
Yep. And so I think he has a very strong. He's been doing pretty good on social media. He's been on Chicago Corner, so he will show up on independent media. I think of all the candidates, I would like to see him make it to the primary. I think he needs to, I guess, do more outreach, especially on the north side. This isn't anything against him or being disrespectful. I think he has definitely a good ground game on the south and west side. But on the north side, whoever wins the most voter turnout, especially during the primary, but this even applies in the general election, whoever wins the north side will win the city election.